3 years of marriage. My husband has been involved with young female doctors in various departments at the hospital during my maternity leave at home. A new female doctor he is dating made a mistake during surgery. She accidentally sewed a piece of gauze into the patient's stomach to prevent this female doctor from losing her job. My husband changed the name of the lead surgeon to mine. I argued with him, but Daniel said, "You're older now and pregnant. There's nothing to worry about. Sophia just graduated. Her future is more important." He leaked my personal information to the patient, which caused a scene in the hospital. As a result, I was beaten and lost the baby. On the day I lost the child, he was out celebrating Valentine's Day with Sophia. Later, I handed the divorce agreement to my mother-in-law. I told her, "Auntie, I no longer love Daniel. Emily, are you really planning to divorce Daniel? He was just temporarily enchanted by that little girl. I'll go talk to him. He needs to completely cut off ties with those unclear people." I said to my mother-in-law with a wry smile, "Auntie, no need. I've already made my decision." My mother-in-law still wanted me to stay, talking about the past. "I promised your mother that I would take good care of you." My mother and Daniel's mother are good friends. 5 years ago, my parents died in a car accident. Before they passed, they entrusted her to take care of me. It is precisely because of her care for me over the years. I tolerated Daniel's infidelity time and again, but this time, she ruined my future and took my child's life away. "Emily, give him another chance. I'll call him right now." Before I could respond, Auntie immediately dialed Daniel's number. The first call rang for just a few seconds, and then it was hung up. Grandma smiled awkwardly. She called him again, but it was still rejected. Grandma said, "This child must be busy with work. Otherwise, he wouldn't hang up on me." Until the 5th time, finally, someone answered the phone. "Mom, what exactly do you want? Why are you in such a hurry? Why are you calling so many times?" Hearing his son's impatient tone, Grandma felt a bit unhappy. "You should come home for a visit. Come back and spend some time with Emily." Before Grandma could finish her sentence, a gentle female voice came from the other end of the line. "Brother Daniel, come and try the Valentine's Day cake." "Mom, today is Valentine's Day. Stop joking around. Emily is no longer a little girl. She doesn't need me to accompany her. Sophia is still waiting for me. I have to go and get busy first." Without waiting for Grandma to speak, Daniel directly hung up the phone. She looked at me apologetically. She said shamefully, "Emily, it's Daniel who should apologize to you. If you want to leave, I won't keep you here. You just had a miscarriage. Your body hasn't fully recovered yet. Wait until you're completely healed before leaving." 2 days later, I saw Daniel again. When he got home, he deliberately pulled up his collar, but it still couldn't hide the red marks on his neck. He looked at Emily. He asked, "Emily, why do you look so unwell? Is your body still not recovered? How about I take you to see a traditional Chinese doctor? Let's take care of your health." He's always like this. First, he makes you angry, then he tries to make you happy, as if nothing ever happened. This time, I won't listen to him, I said. "No need to bother. If there's a good doctor, let's first check on Sophia's health." There's more to my words. Daniel's expression immediately turned unpleasant. He said coldly, "Emily, do you think I'm easy to bully? I've already apologized proactively. Can't you just give me some face, Emily? You're already married and pregnant. You look a bit disheveled now. Why are you still so sensitive all the time?" After Daniel spoke to me, he took out a stack of documents from his briefcase. "Here, sign this." He put on a condescending attitude, ordering me to do things. I flipped through the pages. I almost laughed out of anger at Daniel. It was an apology letter. It required me to admit that I was the attending doctor that day, to take responsibility for all the mistakes during the surgery. After Daniel made me take the blame that day, I told the media about this matter. That's how we ended up with today's apology letter. I ripped the paper into shreds and threw it at Daniel. "Daniel, it was clearly Sophia's negligence that harmed the patient. Why should I take responsibility for her? I will report your matter to the hospital." Daniel raised his hand and slapped me hard. "Speak, Sophia. I am now the vice president. There can be no mistakes. Don't think you can ruin me. If you hadn't been spreading rumors online that day, we wouldn't have to sign this agreement now. After you give birth, you still have to take care of the family. You shouldn't worry too much about your career. But Sophia just graduated. The future is important. Daniel has always been like this. No matter how many women he dates, he will always be considerate towards them. I grew up with him. We've been married for 3 years, but I've never felt the care I deserve from him." He said, "Think carefully. Sign the document later." I'll go cook for Sophia first. He has brought home women more than once to express sincerity. Every time he gets a new girlfriend, he lets them move into this villa to give them a sense of security. While I was lost in thought, Daniel was already busy in the kitchen. Sophia walked into my room. Director Emily, why are you still at Daniel's house? Daniel has long lost interest in you. By the way, you won't be the director for much longer. Daniel has already written a letter of responsibility to the leaders. He has shifted all the responsibility for that incident onto you. Sophia has only been in the hospital for a short time. She happens to be an intern in Daniel's department. The first time she came, she caught Daniel's attention just because she is beautiful and has a stunning figure. This is already her 5th time coming to this house. It seems she has taken it upon herself to be the mistress of the house. She said to Sophia, "I'm pregnant now. I haven't worked at all. I have never worked a job. If you dare to do this, I will file a complaint with the Health Commission. This incident is enough to prevent you, a newly graduated medical student, from continuing in this field. I got into the hospital based on my own abilities. Even if Daniel wants to harm me, I wouldn't be completely defenseless." Maybe my words angered Sophia. She suddenly started pulling at her clothes frantically and slapped herself hard several times. "Emily, I was wrong. Please stop hitting me." As soon as Daniel heard her crying, he rushed in immediately. He quickly helped Sophia up and carefully checked her injuries. "Are you okay, baby?" Daniel saw the scratch marks on Sophia. He was furious. He yelled at Emily, "Have you lost your mind? How could you be so ruthless to Sophia?" Sophia pretended to be kind. She stopped Daniel and said, "Daniel, it's actually all my fault. Emily is right. I shouldn't have interfered in your relationship. I deserve to be hit. I shouldn't have developed feelings for you. I'll go find the principal to explain the situation. The accident at the hospital was caused by me." That's it. Sophia pretended to walk towards the door. "Don't go, Sophia. I promise I'll protect you." Daniel suddenly pushed me hard in front of Sophia. "Emily, you need to apologize to Sophia immediately. Otherwise, I won't let you off the hook." I glared at them, suddenly stood up, gave Sophia a few hard slaps. "I'm sorry. Didn't you say I hit you? Now it's done. I really did that." Sophia's face was severely swollen. "I used all my strength just now." Daniel pushed me down hard. He said angrily, "Emily, where did your gentleness and obedience go? If I had known you were so heartless, I would never have married you. I'll take Sophia to the hospital first. I'll settle the score with you when I return. I just had a miscarriage not long ago." Daniel pushed me a bit. I had such a pain in my lower abdomen that I couldn't stand up. Fortunately, the nanny at home heard my cries. She quickly took me to the hospital. While I was receiving Roman 4 fluids, the nanny went downstairs to help pay the fees. The doctor said, if I had come a little later, my uterus could have been damaged, making it impossible to get pregnant forever after getting married. Every injury on my body was caused by Daniel. I asked the nanny to go back first. I sat there alone in a daze. The 2 nurses started chatting while changing the Roman 4. One of them said, "Our director Daniel is really devoted. He personally carried his wife in to see the doctor." That's true. I heard his wife also works at our hospital, and she is very knowledgeable. This hospital is where Daniel and I work, and the only deputy director named Daniel is him. I asked about Daniel's location. "Remove the needle from your hand immediately." Ran out of the examination room. In another examination room, Daniel is carefully applying an ice pack to Sophia. His gaze towards me is filled with affection. It's almost overflowing. In these 3 years, he has spent very little time at home, always saying he's busy with work, living outside. Even when he occasionally comes home, he is not as gentle and considerate towards me as he is with Sophia. On Thanksgiving Day, I forced him to come home. As a result, I interrupted his gathering with his female colleagues. After that, he gave me the cold shoulder for a month. That day, my emotions were really high and low. I lost my balance for a moment, almost fell down. Sophia has sharp eyes. She immediately noticed me. She hugged Daniel's neck, gently kissed his face. "Daniel, you are so thoughtful. You're truly a good husband. Emily should marry you. Why do we always have these arguments?" Daniel let out a cold laugh. He gently pinched Sophia's nose. "Go on. Maybe Emily has entered menopause early. Now I regret marrying her. I never thought I would." It's surprising that Daniel, who grew up with me, would say something like this about marriage. He was the one who brought it up first, after I graduated from graduate school and started working. He proposed to me. He told me, "We have lived together for over 20 years. He has loved me for a long time. He even promised me, Emily, we will be family for a lifetime. I will protect you for life. All the pain I have endured in recent years is all because of him. I don't know how many times I've caught him cheating, and I don't know how many times I've fought with his lovers. Because of these things, I developed anxiety. I'm always worried and uncertain. Even a stable sleep has become a luxury. I can only sleep with medication. But Daniel, I've had enough of this kind of life. I turned around and left. Go directly to the hospital's security office to request the surveillance footage from the day of the surgery. But the security office told me, Dr. Emily, Vice Dean Daniel specifically instructed, no one can view the footage from that day. I understand. Since Daniel wants me to take the blame for Sophia, he will definitely handle things flawlessly. Ryan, you also know this matter relates to my job. Even if you don't give me the footage, I can still call the police to demand you release the surveillance content. With the internet so developed now, if the footage is tampered with, big data can trace that out. It's not appropriate to help them cover up and lose their jobs. After my persuasion, he eventually handed over the footage from the operating room that day. After returning home, I started packing my bags, seeing the wedding ring in the jewelry box. I couldn't help but smile wryly. Daniel is unwilling to let me reveal our marital relationship in front of outsiders, so even his colleagues don't know. I have never worn this ring. Today, Daniel and Sophia are wearing couple rings. Perhaps Sophia is a bit special to him. Where are you going with your things? Daniel's voice suddenly came from behind me. Today, he surprisingly isn't with Sophia. He gently hugged me from behind. He whispered, Emily, I've been a bit neglectful of you these past few days. Don't take it too seriously. Daniel has a sweet, cloying scent of perfume. It makes me feel uncomfortable. If he were to actively show affection usually, I would definitely let go of the unpleasantness. Everyone takes a step back and reconcile as before. After hearing what he said today, I finally realized. The person I married isn't that great. Daniel, don't give me that. Save your sweet talk for Sophia. Daniel's expression darkened. He yelled at me. Emily, don't think that just because I usually give in to you, you can do whatever you want. I, Daniel, am not short of people who like me. Let me tell you. Emily, I won't fall for such deliberate teasing. I'm not going to be fooled. After he finished speaking, he immediately called Sophia. In less than 15 minutes, Sophia appeared in front of me. Daniel pushed me out the door and brought Sophia into our marital home. The two of them were being affectionate inside. I sat in the yard all night. The next morning, Sophia appeared before me in a thin dress. She said to me, Emily, you should get a divorce. Daniel has long lost feelings for you. Isn't it true that you only care about his status? But those things will never belong to you. Sophia kept provoking me. I couldn't contain my anger anymore. Just as I was about to raise my hand to hit her, she fell to the ground by herself. Sophia's thigh is bleeding. She is crying out for help. I was about to check on her condition, but Daniel pushed me aside. He angrily said to me, Emily, how can you be so heartless? How could I marry a woman like you? Daniel rushed to the hospital, holding Sophia. I squatted down, gently touched the red liquid on the ground with my finger. In my heart, I couldn't help but mutter, Daniel is really head over heels. Not long after, news about the deputy hospital director of a certain top-tier hospital topped the trending list. I had just read an article about a certain deputy director having an affair with an intern and provoking the original spouse. Right after that, Daniel's call came in. Emily, are you trying to ruin my future with what you're doing? Who made you do this? Daniel kept blaming me on the phone. But it was actually Sophia who leaked the information on purpose. Daniel, Sophia arranged that matter herself. Can't you see it as a doctor? Where has your basic judgment gone? Even a dog has more common sense than you. Even saying that makes the dog feel wronged. Daniel was momentarily speechless after I countered him. He didn't expect me to say such things. I hung up the phone, organized all the items, then placed the divorce agreement on his desk. I received a job offer from the city center hospital, decided to switch to another hospital, just submitted my resignation letter, walked to the hospital entrance, and was surrounded by a group of small reporters. They asked me, Miss Emily, can you tell us, is it true that Dr. Sophia was the one you pushed, causing the miscarriage? Yes. Miss Emily, can you talk about your relationship with Dr. Sophia and your husband? My head is buzzing. Still haven't regained my composure. Sophia rushed in front of everyone wearing a hospital gown. She knelt down in front of me with a thud and cried out, Emily, sister, please let me go. My child is already gone. Just let me live. You said it yourself before, you don't love Daniel. You married him only for his status and position. Daniel and I truly love each other. Don't worry. I won't compete with you for the position of the dean's wife." Sophia was crying uncontrollably. Daniel looked heartbroken. The reporters who previously accused Sophia of being the third party changed their attitude after hearing her words. He turned to Miss Emily and asked, "Miss Emily, could you please explain? Is what she said true?" Sophia kept kneeling on the ground, continuously apologizing to me. Daniel's eyes were filled with anger. He said, "Emily, have you caused enough trouble? Sophia has already pleaded with you so humbly. Don't take advantage of her any further. You need to explain clearly to the media reporters. You want to ruin our future?" Daniel tightly grabbed my arm. That spot was already red and painful. "Hiss, stop pretending. This little pain of yours is nothing compared to Sophia's loss of her child. It doesn't count at all." I was forcibly brought in front of the reporters. Daniel whispered a warning in my ear. "Emily, if you dare to speak out of turn, I'll throw you out. And also, the things your mother left behind. The jade tablet has been missing for a long time. I didn't expect to see it in Daniel's hands. My gaze was cold. I stared directly at Daniel's threat. I could only grit my teeth. To the media reporters present, "Everyone, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I misled public opinion, hurt Vice Dean Daniel and Miss Sophia. I am greedy for vanity, forced Daniel to marry me. Also bullied Sophia, whom he truly loves. I deserve my punishment. I will divorce Daniel, leave the position for Sophia. I bow and apologize to Sophia." When looking up, seeing the proud expression on her face, "Emily, it's really embarrassing for our Daniel family to have a daughter-in-law like you. I've long been unable to stand you. This jade pendant is the token of love you gave me. From now on, we are just like this jade plaque." Daniel raised his hand high. Smash, he turned and walked away holding Sophia, and I was surrounded by reporters, being pointed at and talked about by them, faced various accusations and insults. My heart has already turned cold. I have also repaid the upbringing affection from now on. I just want to never see Daniel again. Daniel rarely goes back to his home. Maybe he thinks he overdid it today. He even went to the kitchen to make porridge for Emily, but he waited for almost 3 hours. Emily still hasn't shown up. Daniel is getting more and more anxious. His phone keeps ringing nonstop. "Hello, who is this?" Before Daniel could get angry, the person on the other end hurriedly told him, "Daniel, bro, something happened. My sister-in-law was forced by reporters to jump into the moat. The water is flowing particularly fast. No one dares to go down and look for her." Daniel's hands suddenly went limp, until the person on the other end kept calling his name. He finally snapped back to reality from his shock. Impossible. Emily is the strongest. How could she be so upset over such a small matter? Moreover, she is carrying my child. The person on the other end is Daniel's childhood friend. He snorted coldly. It was the first time he had an argument with Daniel. "Daniel, bro, you and Emily have been married for 3 years. Have you fulfilled your responsibilities as a husband?" Daniel was standing there. He was completely stunned. He couldn't believe this bad news at all. After Daniel hung up the phone, he immediately drove back to the hospital entrance. Many people stood above, watching. They were discussing among themselves, but no one dared to go down and save her. He shouted loudly, "Make way. I'm going down to save Emily." Daniel had just thrown off his coat. He was about to jump down to save her, but he was pulled back by someone next to him. That person said, "Don't save her. She's a greedy and cruel woman. She deserves to die." Daniel punched that reporter in the face. It was then that he realized how much harm he had caused Emily. Due to various negative news reports, both Daniel and Sophia were suspended. He got drunk every day at home. He didn't even want to see Sophia. "Mom, did Emily really die? I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. She is carrying my child, and she truly loves me." Daniel's mother saw what he looked like. She took the box out of the study. She said angrily, "Daniel, how could I have a son like you? The thing I regret most in this life is letting Emily marry you. Emily has long since lost her feelings for you. You don't deserve to be a father, and you don't deserve to be the child's dad." Daniel took the box. He slowly tore open the seal. The first thing he saw was the divorce agreement. He angrily tore the document into pieces. Then he looked further, in a small box. There was a pair of rings. Those were bought when he married Emily. 3 years have passed. His ring still looks as new as ever. At that time, he didn't want anyone to know he was already married, so he hardly ever wore that ring. Daniel continued to flip through. he discovered a stack of photos. All of them were intimate snapshots of him with different girls. There was a line of text written on the back of the folder. I can accept that you don't love me. I can also accept that you have feelings for someone else. But I cannot accept you casually squandering my sincerity. Daniel knew in his heart he loved Emily. He just wasn't ready to return to family life so soon. He continued to look down. He found a transparent container when he saw what was inside. Daniel couldn't help but shout out, "How is this possible?" It was a fully developed fetus. "Daniel, you and Sophia framed Emily, causing a medical accident, resulting in her being beaten by the patient's family and losing the baby. On what grounds do you expect Emily to continue loving you? If it weren't for you leaking Emily's information, how would things have turned out this way?" Daniel's mother finished speaking. Daniel's heart felt like it was tightly gripped by a large hand. It hurt immensely. He murmured to himself, "It's impossible. This isn't real. How could I not keep my child safe? Mom, tell me this isn't true. Emily is still alive. Our child is safe and sound. Right? I haven't even had the chance to feel his heartbeat." Daniel couldn't believe this fact. He had only one thought in his mind. Emily is still alive. He must find her. He rushed out immediately, as if he had lost his mind. I carried the suitcase I had packed in advance, with my passport. I went to Germany and became a doctor without borders. Back in school, I admired those doctors without borders who rushed through war and disaster. Now, I was fortunate to join them. Last year, I participated in relief work for flood-affected areas. During that time, I learned how to swim. It was precisely because of this skill. Only then was I able to successfully escape after jumping into the moat. Sometimes life requires a fresh start, and we also need the ability to reset everything. The first mission I received was to provide medical aid in a war-torn country. Despite the constant warfare here, people have never given up hope for life. Over time, I gradually let go of the past. I fought alongside my colleagues, slowly. I became close friends with the quiet Ryan, Emily, when we safely returned home. I'll invite you to try my family's special dishes. What I didn't expect was, Ryan's home is also in New York. Speaking of this place, my heart aches faintly. Those past events flash through my mind like a movie. Okay, I haven't been home for a year. Soon it will be the anniversary of my parents' passing. If the war can end, I think 3 months later, the two countries have ceased fire. Our medical organization is evacuating. I took a half-month break to rest. I told Ryan, I want to go back first to pay my respects to Mom and Dad. After everything is settled, I will accompany you for a meal later. 2 days later, the plane landed in New York. I set foot on this land once again. I arrived at the cemetery. I was surprised to find a large bouquet of carnations was placed in front of my parents' tombstone. I didn't expect that after I left, someone would still come to honor them. "Emily, is that you?" I heard Daniel's familiar voice coming from behind. "I'm so glad you're okay. I have been looking for you this year. It was really hard to find you. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have brought another woman home. I shouldn't have made you suffer. It's good that you're back. Give me a chance to make up for my mistakes." After seeing me, Daniel excitedly hugged me from behind. His tears kept falling on my back. I only felt irritated inside. "Daniel, just go away. We are done." I pushed the person behind me away in disgust. A hint of heartache flashed in his eyes. I said coldly, "Daniel, listen carefully. I died over a year ago. Now I am Emily. I only live for myself." It seemed Daniel didn't hear me speak. He circled around me, carefully checking my physical condition. He said, "Emily, I'm really a terrible person. Mom told me you had a miscarriage. Your body hasn't fully recovered. The water in the moat is so cold. Did you have any health problems because of it?" Whenever miscarriage is mentioned, a surge of anger rises in my heart. "Daniel, you have no right to mention my child. If it weren't for you, he would have had a chance to come into this world." I still remember the scene of the medical dispute that day. I had just completed my pregnancy checkup. The baby's little hands were already clearly visible on the ultrasound. But I had only just left the hospital. When I ran into that patient's family member, Daniel leaked my photo and personal information to them. They directed all their anger at me. Fists came crashing down. I felt the child's life slowly fading away. "Emily, I understand. I'm sorry for you and the child. You should come back with me. We can still have more children." Daniel held me tightly. He kept apologizing to me, but I didn't feel soft-hearted at all. I said to him, "Daniel, let go of me. Stay away from me. If you have nothing to do, it would be better to spend more time with Sophia." Seeing me mention Sophia, Daniel immediately explained to me, "Emily, I really have nothing to do with Sophia now. I have no feelings for her at all. It was just a moment of impulse. I grew up with you since childhood. How could I really give you up for someone else? You have a generous heart. Don't be angry with me anymore. This year's lessons have been more than enough. I will make it up to you in the days I have left. But he can never give me back the life of my child, nor can he make up for the grievances I've endured these 3 years. Just like that piece of jade he shattered, it can never be restored. After getting married, I gave him chance after chance, but he not only didn't change, he became more and more outrageous, bringing back one woman after another and letting them bully me. Daniel, let go of me. We can't remarry. I want to break free." But he held me tightly. "Emily, let go of me." Ryan suddenly appeared at the cemetery gate. He rushed over and pushed Daniel to the ground. He said, "People like you. What gives you the right to lay hands on Emily? She is no longer your wife." Ryan stood firmly behind me. Daniel saw this. A flash of anger crossed his eyes. He said, "Emily is my wife. What gives you the right to call her so intimately?" The atmosphere between them was so tense it felt like a fight could break out at any moment. "Daniel, you should leave. I don't want to see you again. Ryan is my boyfriend. I'm going to his house for dinner today. I'm leaving now," as Daniel looked on in surprise. We walked out of the cemetery. I said to Ryan, "Thank you. I'm sorry you had to witness that just now. Those matters are the past I least want to bring up. Even if the wounds have healed, they still ache faintly. Emily, don't say that. It's not your fault. It's Daniel who doesn't deserve to be a real man. Don't feel embarrassed about these things. Emily, remember, I've always been by your side." I took the initiative to link my arm with his. We walked together to Ryan's house. I stayed at Ryan's house for 3 days. We have made plans. We intend to hold the engagement ceremony before the holiday ends. Ryan made me understand. I am worthy of love. He taught me how to love others again. On the day of the engagement ceremony, I never expected Daniel to show up. He was wearing an outfit almost identical to Ryan's. It looked like he was there to steal the bride. He said to me, "Emily, this ring is custom made for you. Let's start over. Okay, this time I will never let go of your hand again." I watched Daniel put on the men's ring himself. I couldn't help but sneer. When we were together before, I begged him to acknowledge our marriage publicly. He always hid away. Now, he did this in front of so many people and directly interrupted the wedding. "Daniel, I no longer have feelings for you. A man like you is not worthy of my love. Marrying you is the beginning of all my misfortunes." My words are very resolute. There is no room for negotiation. Although Daniel was momentarily upset, he quickly began to pester me again. He said, "Emily, I can't live without you. Please forgive me this time. For the sake of our mothers being good friends, for the sake of my father, give me another chance." Mentioning my mother made me even angrier. He smoked that the only relic. My heart ached as if it were cut by a knife. I raised my hand and slapped him hard, and incidentally threw that ring far away. "Emily, how can you so waste my feelings? What do you want me to do? You can only forgive me." Seeing him so submissive, it reminds me of my own humble times. Back then, how I wished to receive Daniel's love, how I longed for him to treat me sincerely. But all of this was just a wishful thinking. Now Daniel is taking the initiative to apologize and make amends. But I feel his love is cheaper than dust, love that comes too late. I would rather not have it. Among the audience, many people recognize Daniel. They have been live streaming with their cameras on. Sophia probably learned about it from her phone and came to the engagement venue. She said to Daniel, "You finally returned to New York. I really missed you. This time you're back. Let's get married." As soon as Sophia finished saying what Emily meant to her, "How could you demean yourself for her?" Daniel slapped her hard. "Daniel, shut up. This is between Emily and me. It has nothing to do with you. You're just a character who actively approaches men. How can you compare to my Emily in the past?" Daniel treats Sophia like a treasure. Whenever I have a disagreement with her, Daniel will blame me. It's the first time he got angry at Sophia. I see, when not loved, even a young and beautiful Sophia can be discarded like garbage. Brother Daniel, how can you say that? I bore a bad reputation for you. I experienced a miscarriage for you. I lost my job for you. You should compensate me. It was you who initiated the divorce with Emily. You chose to be with me. Although you are the vice president, you're actually just a man who lusts for beauty. Daniel cares a lot about his reputation. Even though he no longer works at the hospital, they have been arguing nonstop. All the guests are staring at them. Ryan called security to get this group of people out. "Emily, Emily, listen to me, you can't marry him, Emily. I really know I was wrong. Please promise me. Marry me again. He struggled hard, trying to break free from the security's obstruction. But the security is strong and powerful. He simply couldn't break free. Daniel, I will never forgive you in this lifetime because of that woman. You have framed me time and again. If it weren't for you, how could I have lost the child? And how could I have lost my job at the city hospital? After Daniel and Sophia left, I smoothly completed the engagement ceremony with the other party. On the day the engagement ceremony ended, Daniel was waiting at the entrance of the banquet hall. When he saw me come out, he hurriedly walked up to me. Emily, come home with me. I really can't live without you. I made a mistake. I hurt you. I found those people just to annoy you. I'm really regretting it now. Please forgive me. His tears fell one by one. This is the first time I've seen Daniel cry. Those are just fake tears. They don't move me at all. Daniel, stop pretending here. If you really cared that much, the child wouldn't have gotten hurt. You wouldn't have done something to betray your family. With that time, you should go accompany your Sophia. Daniel still wanted to follow. Ryan blocked him. Daniel, please don't look for me anymore. I have a new life now. Let the past be the past. Just let it be a memory. I once loved you, but now all I have left for you is resentment. Daniel listened to my words. It seemed like he was deeply hurt. He suddenly sat down on the ground. In the following days, he hasn't contacted me again. Once again, I heard news about him. It was Daniel's mother who called me. She said, Emily, Auntie wants to ask you for a favor to collect Daniel's belongings. Daniel has passed away. Last night, he was driving a sports car, speeding up to 150 miles per hour, ultimately crashed into the moat with Sophia. Before reaching the moat, he threw out a package. That was the belonging he left for me. Inside was a handwritten letter from him. Daniel wrote, he regretted it. He regretted not having a good relationship with me. Otherwise, the child would be crawling by now. He also regretted being so flirtatious. It left me exhausted, both physically and mentally. And he developed quite a few problems. He said, a few days ago, he accidentally overheard a conversation between Sophia and her friends, planning to use the same method again. That was when he finally understood. The matter with that child before was actually false. But at that time, he completely refused to listen to my explanation. What a pity. There is no remedy for regret in this world. Before Daniel ended his life, he revealed the operating room footage and the truth about Sophia's fake pregnancy. After the previous hospital learned the truth, they invited me back to work, but I declined. I still hope to return to Doctors Without Borders to continue to do my part. I said goodbye to my parents. Ryan and I set off together to go abroad. During our journey to support various countries, we welcomed a lovely baby. As he grew a little older, he returned to New York and opened a small clinic. Later, he gradually understood. The so-called new life has never been in a foreign land. When you root your life in unfamiliar soil, all partings are like roots extending into the world.